I see you haven't changed one bit.
Oh, of course not. Look up ladies' man in the dictionary. There's Johnny.
The long-awaited release of Johnny is here. Outside of his clear love for the ladies, Johnny does have a tragic backstory. His father during the Crusades was killed by a gear, and allegedly was the only person who ever cared for him. After being trained in the art of Japanese swordsmanship, he was able to found the Jellyfish Pirates, who took in orphan girls because he felt like someone needed to stick up for the weak. Of course, one of the key orphans he took in was men. Even though he may be seen as a criminal, he does have a very big heart, and, well, we love him. Keep on being awesome, Johnny.
Take it easy out, man.
Hello, everyone. This is David Leibowitz with Philosophy Will Be Game Philosophy, and I know you've been clamoring for this. The reaction to this song was magnificent, so we're going to talk about Just Lane. I am a video game philosophy guy. I talk about my Nietzsche, my Jung, and all that stuff, and I wanted to talk about Just Lane and tell you why this song is both good and has some bad parts to it. So without further ado, Just Lane.
Just listen what's called the years, the word of the guy who was hated by the god of failure.
So, what we're dealing with so far is Just Lane is a gambling term when you feel like you're pretty much really good with your stuff. The beginning little guitar bit was definitely a tribute to Johnny Cash, which is Johnny's basically what he's inspired off of. And the big thing, he's hated by the word of the guy who was hated by the god of failure. So, you know me, I have to be a Nietzschean and say this definitely relates to the idea that Nietzsche basically thought that God and belief in God and a Christian morality makes one become mediocre because they pity other people, they act in a way that is not ultimately self-advancing. It is for others, it's acting for others, but it's acting in a very restricted way. So therefore, the god of failure is the god of the Bible. But it's also just the god of failure that this man cannot fail, which leads to another thing with my critique that I'll get to later. But the word of the guy, the word means that this is his own testament. He's sort of like this antichrist figure that's giving out his own gospel to people about how you should really live.
Just lean.
So basically, Death's kingdom, that man undid Death's kingdom, because people are trying in these day and age to try to become more than they are, become gods. Especially in the time of Guilty Gear, when it's more futuristic setting, where people are trying to become immortal, trying to use their technology, and Johnny's just a man living on his own, and he's living in accordance with nature. And Nietzsche would definitely say that, well, this age of technology is too much and is making us undoing ourselves to fundamentally age a state of death. Everyone's eyes and ears know, but fundamentally he's living in an age that is not good because everyone is hunting themselves. But he is the outlaw. So what about the outlaw? So there's a big idea. So if truth is always born in the mind, then how... If this is fundamentally a postmodernist take that it fits Nietzsche a little bit, because Nietzsche would say that all the people who think that they can go beyond and find the abstract truth of the world, they're full of shit. And Nietzsche would also say that to truly find oneself, you need to find it in your own self. To better, only thing can be found is in yourself. And Jung would say this as well. If you can find what is in yourself, because your truth is your own personal truth. But this also goes to certain postmodernists that basically say that these other people trying to tell you the truth is fundamentally beyond what is the truth, and you can never find the absolute truth. So we should all just stick to our own truths, and the truths of science, they're also beyond, so we can't even find those truths. So therefore, if it's born in the mind, then is there any truth at all, or are we all still living between each other's truths? And therefore the truth that only we ourselves can dig into ourselves and come together and make that truth. Can we find that to be truth? Oh, but then there's also the outlaw. No age can judge him. The outlaw is, because Nietzsche's Übermensch, who is very much a free spirit and is away from society in a way. No, you cannot be, when you're outside of the Christian moral system, the debilitated Christian moral systems, you find yourself that you cannot be judged. This is sort of, when we think about people in societies, that people can only judge people inside their society. So once someone leaves the society and leaves out the hermeneutical circle of understanding, when one is fundamentally in that Johnny is in his own level of understanding beyond everyone else, that he is beyond being judged, even though, of course, society would still say he's part of the society and therefore could criminalize him. But fundamentally, his philosophy is that he can't be criminalized because he can't be judged by him or anyone of any age, because he is the free spirit, he is the Übermensch, he is loving. Johnny has adopted many people and has made his own troop, so he's a very loving guy. And outside of beyond good and evil is love. Beyond good and evil is love. So Johnny is a figure of love. He is of generosity. But he can only do that outside of the Christian society, of the Christian moral principles that he is without. So the thick book should have shown the right back. This is probably definitely to the Bible. So the thick book. Well, I thought it says whenever you know. That I think actually is this the opposite meaning, that he wouldn't have ripped it up, so therefore that the thick book is actually, that this may be actually less anti-Bible than I think it is, and he's mainly actually saying that he wouldn't have ripped it up because he actually is looking at this, maybe this thick book is not the Bible, maybe it's some other book, maybe it's his own inner book, that he wouldn't have ripped it up. He trusts himself, he trusts his inner instincts, while other people overly constrain themselves and overly criticize what they should do, when he just goes with the flow. He's with the animal instinct and goes with himself. So this is exactly it. He follows all of that. He doesn't have fortune. He is a gambler. He has bad luck. But fundamentally, he follows his heart. He follows himself. He's a free spirit, and he believes in what he believes. So that's wonderful. But that doesn't mean he still never fails. Even though he doesn't have fortune, he never fails, which gets into an issue, which we'll get to when we get to the issue. The truth can't cloaked in fear. This is definitely a Nietzschean idea that basically the truth is cloaked in fear because everyone is fundamentally acting out of the fear of God, fear of others, and they are not allowed to act in themselves. So when you go beyond fear, or you accept fear, and you conquer fear, then you can go out into the forest and find that forbidden knowledge, or understand that there's no forbidden knowledge to be found, which allows one to be truly a free spirit.
He says half the world is my love out. It's a mess, but nobody think it's a joke. Whether it be mother, sister, or daughter, whatever, he doesn't talk about fake love.
All right. I want to give a performance joke. This is actually, there's some weird Frank Sinatra stuff going on here. It's like, and I can just say this, like, it's very like grungy, it's country, it's definitely got country, classic rock in it. He says half the world is my love out. It's a mess, but nobody thinks it's just a joke. Whether it be mother, sister, or daughter, he doesn't talk about fake love. Like, this is very much, this is good, some really good acting, really good performance that really gets in, like, this weird southern accent that Naoki is putting on. It's definitely weird. But now to be the party pooper. I put in the title, is this song healthy for men? And it's mixed, but this specific part and the part about not failing and being hated by the god of failure, there's Nietzsche with that, and Nietzsche was a misogynist. He did not like about women, so he actually was kind of disgusted by the figure of women. So that's not Johnny. But what we are finding here is the idea that Johnny, this may be a parody, that I don't think we are to aspire to be Johnny. Johnny's not the hero, but technically under this argument about hegemonic masculinity, Johnny Soul, literally almost every male character, maybe not Testament, maybe basically Testament. Oh yeah, Testament's not even male, but the fact that maybe Testament and Bridget because they're beyond being male. But this even applies to people like Milia, because they still kick ass, which means that this is also as opposed to caring. Like Dizzy's maybe okay, Jacko maybe okay, but this is the most excruciating when Johnny is just checking doors with a sword. Like, it's very much that Johnny, the idea that Johnny is an ideal who can literally never fail, who is in love with half the women in the world. Men of average birth are not able to reach this ideal. So the fact is that in Hollywood, people, and in video movies and video games, men are, the way they're portrayed as the people who kick ass, even when they're anti-heroes, when they even have flaws, they still ultimately win in the end. And even if they lose, even if the man loses, it's still about an action, a kick-ass guy. It's not about any more feminine traits of the man, the ones that don't kick ass. And if a man looks at Johnny and sees this ideal of a guy who never fails, kicks ass, and is in love with half of the women in the world, they're gonna feel shrunken. It doesn't matter that Johnny isn't the main character, that he's just some side character. He still exists. And this is the problem with masculinity. So there's something about this song. It's fantastic. It's a bop. It's great. It's entertaining. But it has some issues. Because basically we need to rethink how men are written. Even beyond the anti-hero. Not to say we love our tales where the guy kicks ass at the end, but it needs to have more diversity of our male characters, like a male caretaker or a male something else that isn't ultimately just this hegemonic masculine ideal. I can talk about this more in the comments if people want to discuss, but it's hard to really put into words. I learned a lot of this from a friend that I met at U Chicago who wrote a paper on this. It's a very understudied field, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Now let's finish the song. I love this riff. Woo! So this is saying that again, the fact that he's both a failure and a success at the same time, that shows that he's against both the male and he's like, this might actually get into the Nietzschean that is against the feminine. But I don't think there's too much. It's like he really knows how to succeed. And again, this goes back to the masculine fantasy, but also that he's just he's gone beyond the coils of God. He's killed God. And he's the Ubermensch, he's go to the post-moral society. I love that. It's just so good. Warn of Dawn. It's hard to say what that exactly means, but I guess he's sort of immersed in the night, or he never allows the day to end. It's a little weird. This lyric I'm not certain of, but I think he's not this. I don't know if you need to look too deep into. I think he allows himself to be more into the so maybe some feminine aspects. Just like see what's cold. It's anyone's call. Is the word of the guy who was hated by the god of failure. Some foolish diamond. I love it. Again, the song has issues. Doesn't mean it points to more pervasive issues. Not Naoki's fault, and Naoki's play on these more Western ideals. Again, things are a little different in Japan, but it's a good song. Again, not too deep, but it's true is born in the mind. That's a pretty hefty statement. And about the outlaw. Again, it's just a little deeper than you thought it was. Of course, I always like to look a little deeper. All right. I do have news, though. I'm going to post this on a Monday. And soon after, a video game SAG-AFTRA strike is going to happen. Now, I am not affiliated with the union, but I am myself a voice actor. Even if I'm of small roots, I haven't been in that much. But I do wish to not offend the union. Now, I'm going to get more details on this, but it is most likely that I will not be able to cover Guilty Gear, nor Persona. So I will can I keep on looking at what an indie game counts as, but I definitely will be back when the strike is over. And I also have another channel. I have my political comedy YouTube channel that I want to get up. Was a podcast for a while, and I'm thinking about reacting to some YouTube poops, some political comedy, maybe some political things. But you see that I have that thing in me. So if you want to see that, come over to my other channel. I can link it in the description below. And without ado, all shucks, yeah, peace.